Good afternoon, Vanessa, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Using Twitter to Mobilize Your Community webinar. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you to withdraw your question, press the pound key. I will now like to turn the call over to Ms. Suzanne Knisner. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Vanessa, and hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Social Media Monday, Using Twitter to Mobilize Your Community. I am Suzanne Knisner, Project Specialist with Campaign Consultation, and I will be running the show from the back end while Danielle and our CNCS and guest lead us through today's presentation. Before we get started, I do want to go over through a couple nitty-gritty details. Specifically, if you lose your phone or internet connection, please simply call or log back in as you originally did and automatically be re-entered into the presentation. I'm going to go ahead and open the poll while we get started, and that way we can hear from you and how you all are doing. Let's see. Here we go. Let me Danielle to talk about the recording while I open up the poll.
Sure. So today we're using Twitter. We're going to talk about using Twitter to mobilize your community. And we're going to talk about ways to break news quickly, share service stories, mobile community members, bring awareness to poverty issues, and cultivate new relationships. And we're asking that during this presentation you share with us these things as you're using them and as you find vistas could use them. So if we could go ahead and go to the next slide. We talked about the losing internet connection and what you should do. We're still looking for the poll, and here are a couple of things that we want to share with you guys, and that is we're looking to see if you're currently using Twitter and often you're using it either daily, weekly, monthly, or never, and if you're using Vista in your if you're using Twitter for your Vista project, that is, and also how you're using Vista, Twitter, whether it's to grow the Vista community or promote events and causes. So let's keep going. I want you to also understand that this web shop is being recorded. It will be available on the Vista Campus and the Social Media Monday landing page, along with the archives of previous web shops. And that link will be available for you in the chat as well as towards the end of the web shop. And all links are available on that page, and they'll be available at the end so that you can follow along with us in the chat. So let's keep going. Can you fast forward, please? We're going to go to
Absolutely.
Thanks. To today's presenters. Joining me today is Liz Matthews. She is the Vista Alumni Outreach and Support Specialist at CNCS, and myself. And we'll use slides behind, so we could just keep going. We'll come back to the poll. No worries.
Hi, it's Liz Matthews, and I just wanted to say thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us for this Social Media Monday web shop. And we are looking forward to hearing from 3 special guests we have on the phone call today. We've got Vicki Hoover-Williamson, who is the State Program Director with CNCS in Iowa. And then we have Terry Gannell, who's also State Program Director from Arizona, and Kirsten Franklin Temple from the great states of Alaska and Washington. She's the State Director out there. So we're really excited to have them share how they're using Twitter and engaging the Vista community in their states. So we'll hear from them a little bit later on. Danielle, back to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Liz. So let's go over today's agenda. We're going to talk about Twitter how-tos. I have a worker on the line who's going to jump in a little bit later on. She is also a project specialist with Campaign Consultation, and she's going to talk a little bit about how she uses Twitter. And again, we want to hear from you all as well. We'll talk about Twitter best practices. We have a Vista case study from a Vista on the line who's actually using social media as part of his assignment. We're going to have an open discussion and tweet chat. We'll talk about some Twitter tips. And we'll get to Q&A, and then we're going to continue the conversation in 2 places, on Twitter, of course, and then on the Vista campus and the Vista forum. Now, moving forward, Liz is going to tell you a few things that we're hoping that you will take away.
Great, Danielle. So how and why can Twitter enhance your service experience? You're going to learn how to create a strategy for using Twitter at your project site. You're going to learn how to represent your organization within the online community on Twitter. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly, how to represent Vista and yourself while online. So you'll hear more about being professional while being online in a bit.
Thank you. So this is our Twitter page. You will see this is a screenshot of that. We're going to go there live in just a bit. You'll notice that we have a branded background. We're using the official AmeriCorps Vista logo. Now, we've done over 5,000 tweets, and if we can get 4 other people to join us today, we're going to get up to 6,000. When we go live, I'm going to see if we've been there yet. But this is basically what you would call your landing page when you go to Twitter. So you'll see that the handle for us is @VistaBuzz. If you're not currently following us and you do have a handle, go ahead and start following us, and we're going to have instructions on the tweet chat a little bit later on. Now, I just want to explain a couple of things to you all. That is, this particular web shop on Twitter is a little bit more advanced than those that we've done in the past. I'm going to play a video for you now that's going to take us, it's about a little over 3 minutes long, and it's going to take us through the how-tos of Twitter. So if you've never tweeted before or you're not sure what you're doing on Twitter, this is just an introduction for you. We will have a link provided for you a little bit later on. If you need an in-depth web shop for getting started on Twitter, we have that available to you in our Social Media Monday web shop on the Vista campus. That's what we're really going to be doing today. Of course, we'll answer any questions that you have, but we want to talk a little bit more about strategy today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop. And everybody can see this, and we're going to. So you're going to hear it coming through your phone, and please make adjustments if it's too loud.
How to use Twitter. With Twitter, a powerful social networking service, you have the potential to reach millions of users instantly. Use it to issue public safety alerts, broadcast real-time news developments, inform constituents, or solicit feedback. It's free and easy to use. Here's how to get started. You will need a computer with internet access, optional mobile internet access, and texting capabilities. Step 1, create an account. Go to twitter.com and click the green Get Started button to join. Enter your name, username, password, and email address, and you're good to go. Step 2, decide what you want to say. In general, Twitter messages or tweets answer the question, what are you doing right now? But you can also post a link, express an opinion or reaction, or pose a question. Twitter keeps things short and sweet. Messages can be no longer than 140 characters. Step 3. On the home page, type your message into the box at the top of the screen and hit Update. Congratulations, you've posted your first tweet. If your tweet is intended for one user in particular, type the @ symbol followed by that user's screen name before the text of your message. Step 4. Twitter is a two-way street. Now that you've posted your first update, choose people whose updates you want to follow. To search by name, click on Find People in the upper right corner, and then click the Find on Twitter tab. You can follow individuals, like friends and colleagues, and groups, like news services, organizations, and nonprofits. People may be listed under a screen name that doesn't match the real name. Step 5. Once you've found someone you want to hear from on Twitter, click Follow, and you'll receive their updates automatically. People you already know will then reciprocate and start following you, too. If you have a Gmail, Yahoo, AOL, Hotmail, or MSN email account, you can import any contacts that also have a Twitter account. You can also invite someone via email or scroll through a list of suggested people. Step 6. To help people find you, fill in account information under Settings, such as your location, real name, and a brief bio. You can also add the URL of your website or blog if you have one. If you want to restrict your Twitter updates to only those who follow you, check the box marked Protect My Updates. You'll maintain your privacy, but you'll limit your reach. To get the full Twitter experience, leave the box unchecked. Step 7. You don't have to be online to use Twitter. No matter where you are, you can stay connected with your cell phone. On the Devices tab, under Settings, enter your mobile number to receive and post Twitter updates via text message. Twitter doesn't charge for text messages, but your wireless provider might. Make sure you know the details of your messaging plan. Step 8. On the Picture and Design tab, customize how your profile appears to others by uploading photos and choosing background themes. Step 9. See what people on Twitter are saying about subjects you're interested in. At the bottom of any Twitter page, click Search and type in a name or topic. Or, either below the search box or alongside search results, check what's generating the most buzz by browsing through trending topics. Step 10. You can post updates from the web in the update box, via text message, on your cell phone's web browser using m.twitter.com, or from any third-party application. They're available at twitter.com/downloads. The more updates you post, the more people will follow you. Now get tweeting. Did you know President Barack Obama announced his selection of Joe Biden as his running mate simultaneously via text message, email, and Twitter?
Okay, now I have to make sure that this video is actually done. There we go. So we're to go back to the presentation. We're having a little bit of problems. You're hearing us stalling over here. We're having problems with our poll, so you hear in the background a little bit of a panic going on, but it's okay. We're going to get there. We're going to keep going. So Vista on Twitter. Now, Liz is going to talk to you a little bit about the last thing that video said was start sharing. But before you start sharing, Liz wants to share some things with you, Vistas, on how you should be using Twitter and some things to just keep in mind.
Great. Thanks, Dale. So before you dive in and get super excited and create a new account, just a couple of things to keep in mind. One, you really want to maximize your organization's online presence. So if they already have a Twitter account, you might as well use that account, and if there are multiple people at your agency that is using that handle, that is using that account, then you can use Hootsuite or another social media dashboard so multiple users can manage the account. And Danielle's going to talk about that in a little bit more detail later on. And the other thing that's really important is to separate your professional from your personal life. And the reason why this is so important is because of the Hatch Act, and you'll hear me mention that a couple of times throughout this call. But the Hatch Act, if you'll recall from your PSO days, is what defines the rules and restrictions on political activities in which federal workers may engage. So this applies to all AmeriCorps Vista members, whether they're serving full-time times during their service and including off-duty hours. So I'll reference that again a little bit, but it's just really important because if you say anything about a political opinion and identify yourself as a Vista on the same account, that really is violating the Hatch Act and could be grounds for termination, and we certainly do not want that to happen. So it's just really important to keep your personal and your professional online personalities separate. So that is what I wanted to make clear here, and I'll turn it back to you, Danielle.
Thanks, Liz. Liz mentioned being able to manage your tweets, and there are many different tools out there, TweetDeck, Seismic. We like Hootsuite. It's not a paid endorsement. We do not get paid for saying that. Because it allows us as a team to be able to share information. As the social media specialist with Campaign Consultation, I work with Liz at CNCS and various others to manage the AmeriCorps Vista Twitter account, and this allows us to manage that as a team. So there are many, again, social media management tools, but if you're looking for one that is first to start off free for one account, and then there is a paid fee if you want to go up from there, we're recommending that to get started you use this one. Again, I do like TweetDeck quite a bit, and if you have others that you like, please go ahead and put those chat, and we're going to share them with everybody. Then we're going to get started and talk about, these are the top 10 Twitter best practices. Now, we've gone on forever with these best practices. There are about 100, but we need to narrow it down for 10, and if you guys have others that you want to add, please go ahead and add that in the chat, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. And the first thing is to tweet about things that Vista care about. Link to newsworthy events, talk about things that are relevant to your work, talk about things that are relevant to Vista, and remember that people are listening to you. So as Liz said, oftentimes you hear people say, oh, well, no one cares about what I tweet about. You'd be very surprised. People do care, and if you're passionate about the work that you're doing, it's going to come across even in 140 characters. The thing is to tweet in the moment. If you are at an event, if you happen to go to a PSO where there are other Vistas getting sworn in, if your project is taking place in the moment, then go ahead and tweet about it. I also like to follow the 60-30-10 rule. It is 60% retweets. And these are pointers to promote items from other users or sites. People that you're saying, hey, I like what you said, I support what you said, and you might want to retweet that about 60% of the time. It's an easy way to get in the conversation. Doesn't take a lot of time. 30% conversation and responses. Conversation and response, engaging with the public, engaging with your followers takes a little bit more time. So you want 30% of the time. And then 10% of the time is what I call the ask, and that is you're asking someone to do something, to take action. Our ask today, and has been for the last couple of days, has been to sign up for this web shop, to register, which many of you have done. You're on the call right now, or to join us in the tweet chat, and we're going to share that information with you a little bit later. Personalize your page. One of the biggest things that will get you followers is if you have an image that is identifiable. Twitter moves very fast. Some people say, oh, you know, I can't tweet this multiple times. Actually, you can. You're going to have to change the messaging. Otherwise, Twitter is going to think you're a bot. So you do have to change a word or two. But the thing that people see most, even far more than your handle, which still has to be identifiable, is that image. Look at the live feed for our Vista Twitter page in a bit, but generally people are looking for that identifier, that image, that logo that they can identify with and they know it's you. You can sync Twitter to your Facebook page. You can also go from Facebook to Twitter. Actions goes a very, very long way in moving the conversation along. You can use Twitter to conduct research, to solicit ideas, to identify other experts in the field, to thank people who have supported you, and to test out the waters. Maybe you're planning an event and you're not sure if it's going to resonate with the people who are in your community. Ask a question. Maybe you're looking for volunteers. You don't know where to get started. Ask the question. I use Twitter for that. It's a great tool. Again, calls to action. As I mentioned before, our call to action today simply was to take this web shop, but certainly there are bigger calls to actions. Check our latest photo issue. Please retweet something for us. You can also include links. Now, it has been said a social media expert, Dan Zarella, found that tweets containing a URL are 3 times more likely to be retweeted. And actually, now that it's become much more visual than it has in the past, tweets have a photo attached to it, get a lot of traction. The other thing is to use hashtags. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. What are hashtags? How do you use them? It has really become one of the most effective tools on Twitter right now to isolate the conversation. And so we want to ask the question to those of you in the chat, what other Twitter best practices can you share with us? What things have worked for you, either on this list or off this list? And I think Jasmine is on the call. Jasmine, you have some things you'd like to share with us that have worked for you.
Thanks, Danielle. Definitely. One thing you mentioned, the pictures are definitely something people click more. And way you can draw people people's attention to that is actually in the tweet before you actually write out your tweet, put the word pic or video, and that will get people clicking on your posts a little bit more. An idea I know people are talking about in the chat about how you, if you ask for volunteers and if you'd ask for donations through Twitter, I think that's a great idea. But the way that you can really see a response is if you use the direct message feature on Twitter to actually ask people directly. Don't be afraid to ask. That seems to elicit the greatest response. Another piece that you can consider is that you have a 140 character limit on Twitter, but think also about how people have longer handles, their Twitter names. So try keeping your tweets to 120 characters so people will tweet them more often.
Oh, that's a great suggestion. That's a great suggestion, because if you use up the whole space, then they can't retweet you. Kyle in the chat has also made a very good point about hashtags, which is where we're going next. Make the hashtag something that's relevant. And we're going to go over several of examples of hashtags for you all, but you don't want to, particularly, and Liz, we can bring you into this conversation to talk about donations and whether Vistas can actually ask for donations. But you want to make sure that, A, you're asking the right question and your hashtag is appropriate while you're representing Vista. And that's what this web shop is how you're using Twitter hashtags, this strategy, while you're representing Vista on Twitter. So, Liz, donations okay to ask for donations while using Twitter? Okay.
Yes, that's fine. I mean, anything that's in your ad, anything that your organization's mission is about, so whether it's recruiting volunteers or raising funds or connecting with community partners, all of those things are very relevant, and Twitter is just another tool to use in order to achieve those goals.
Thanks so much. So what is hashtag? It's a symbol, that pound symbol, it's called hashtag, and it's used to mark keywords or topics in a tweet. So the hashtag symbol, pound, before a relevant key phrase or keyword. So hashtag for today is pound VChat1212. So that pound V for Vista Chat, because it's a Vista Chat. And 1212 is the month and the year, because if we want to go back in time and see how our tweet chats are going, and say we do one once a month, we want to be able to identify it. So right now we actually have a tweet chat going on, and it's with Vista Bus, and it's that hashtag, pound VChat1212. So stay in the chat on the WebEx if you like, but we also note that there are people that are going to be just in the VChat right now having a conversation, and after this web shop, we're going to spend about a half hour in the VChat talking to you guys and sharing this information that you're sharing with us during the presentation. So the question for you all is, what hashtags do you use, and have you had a campaign where hashtags have been very successful? So go ahead and answer that question, and we're going to get back to you guys with some of those answers. Here are some hashtag examples. For change and activism, social good, the hashtag can be used to discuss any topic related to social good. It's a very active hashtag on Twitter. I recommend you go ahead, drop it in the search function, and you'll get into a great conversation. Causes or causes can be used to discuss subjects related to social causes, obviously. Now, we talk about volunteer. When using this, actually being more specific and seeing more traffic for the word volunteers or volunteering, because volunteer is such a big topic that it gets a little bit lost. Found the number 4, change. This hashtag was created to flag a monthly chat on how social media is helping to foster change. And so I want you all to think about, what could you do, what chats could you do on a monthly basis, a recurring topic that would bring people back, support your mission, support your organization, support your project. It's nice to come up with a catchy little hashtag title as well. It could be, I don't know, something like Picker Friday. Well, that wasn't that creative. Well, give me a minute. I'll think of something. Another one is pound give back. Use this hashtag to talk about giving back to the world and your community. And pound do good, and that's support of the do good movement, where you can share your good deeds with the world. So we'd like to add some other social hashtags that you follow, or since I wasn't able to come up with a catchy phrase, maybe you guys could do a little bit better than I did and come up with a catchy monthly phrase that you could use for your Vista project. So, Jasmine, we're going to share some more, but are there any other hashtags that you've seen that you've liked or that maybe the Vistas might be interested in?
One recent hashtag about social change that I've seen is hashtag or pound good spotting. I see the Case Foundation using it a lot. It's sort of pointing out what's been done well in your community, something interesting that you've seen that is doing good. So that's a fun one to follow. The other recommendation I would have is it's not specifically a social hashtag, but be sure to follow the hashtag that's the state or city or community that you're working in. All of them have it. So if you're a certain city, make sure you follow that so that you just know what's going on in your community.
Love that. I'm looking at the chat. It's going very fast, but someone said pound talk poverty. So here, catch you one. Pound talk poverty Tuesday. You heard it here first, folks. This Tuesday, let's follow pound talk poverty Tuesday. I hope to see you all in that conversation. So here are some nonprofit and foundation hashtags that you might want to follow. Pound nonprofit. And this is a very versatile tag. It can be applied to any tweet concerning the nonprofit sector that you may be working in. And there's several there. Pound Charity, Pound Charity Tuesday, Pound Foundations, again, works a little bit better than Foundation, Pound Grant. Now, you're going to have to be creative with the grant because that's going to get you caught up in a very large conversation about grants, and all of them may not apply to you. Now, I have seen a lot of Vistas use Pound Vista. AmeriCorps Vista is going to get you a lot more traction than Pound Vista because they're actually products called Vista. So there's a Microsoft product. There's a Vista Microsoft product. And so sometimes that gets caught up in conversation when you want to isolate it and you want to talk to the AmeriCorps Vista community. It's going to get you a lot more traction if you go ahead and use the AmeriCorps Vista, Pound AmeriCorps Vista hashtag. Now, of course, that eats up a lot of real estate in your 140-character tweet, but it gets you more recognition. So, again, another question we'd like to ask you all is give us an example of hashtags Vistas should be using. Who should they be using? I just saw someone put in there, Pound AmeriCorps Vista. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, you should be using that one. Absolutely. So to get these, you're going to go to your Twitter search, and you can put any of those hashtags that I gave you in the Twitter search and follow along with that conversation. Okay. So before we go on to our case study, actually I want to share my desktop. We're going to see Troy in just a little bit. So I just wanted to test out a couple of them. So we did talk pretty. Let's see if anybody has that one. Yes, spelling. Actually, look at that. So that is a hashtag. They don't have maybe Talk Poverty Tuesday. Let's see how that does.
Might want to spell Tuesday right.
Yeah, I might want to spell that right too. Thank you. Jeez. Yes. There we go. That's ours, guys. That's ours. Okay, so we can start that on Tuesday. I wanted to just take a minute to, before we take you over to our page, obviously you're looking at our VistaBuzz page, and these are our connections, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. But I just wanted to ask Michelle, how's it going in the chat? Anything we want to share with the group?
There is a lot of,
yeah.
Thanks, Danielle. A lot of great conversation in the chat, a lot of resources and familiar hashtags being exchanged. A few questions from folks who are new to Twitter and looking to use established page by their organization.
That's a question, and great that we're here. So I'll tell you how we got started. We actually got started at zero. No one was following us. We started from scratch. We're over 6,000 strong today, 3 years later. So that's very exciting. The very first thing I would suggest you do is start following people. So you're going to use that feature again, and you can see here are some of our latest searches. Search for, very simply, AmeriCorps Vista. Poverty News is another great one, AmeriCorps Week. This is National Conference on Volunteering and Services hashtag, the AmeriCorps hashtag. These are going to lead you to some great conversations. But once you follow them, and I don't know how quickly this is going to you guys, you get to see who they're following. Followers are people that you would want to follow, correct? So these are followers. Recent Fight for Humanity, various ones, and this shows you also why it's so very, very important to have a profile that gives you a detailed information with links. So some of the people we follow may be Vistas, some of them may be state offices, some of them may be CNCS folks, some of them are alumni, and these people, without any explanation, I just happen to know are Vistas, but we're going to hope that after this they fill out their profile. So that makes it easier for you all, other people who are following along, to go ahead and say, that's somebody that we want to follow. Now, those are our this is who we're following. These are our followers. And let me just give you a little tip about following and followers, and that is you want to be following. You want your following-follower ratio to balance out. What happens is if you're following more people than are following you, at a certain point, Twitter starts to think that you are a spammer or a bot, and it will block you and freeze your account for a while. So you don't want to go out there and follow 3,000 people and only 5 people are following you. You kind of want to start a conversation, build it up a little bit, get some folks talking to you, get a few followers under your belt, and then start following back. Now, remember I talked about how imaging is very important and profiles are very important. Now, these are people who are following us. We count. We don't ask people. It's not locked, so we don't ask people to follow us and then we approve. We just let anyone who wants to follow us. But the reason why we may not be following back is we don't have a lot of information on who these people are. So we're not going to follow them back, although I think Marion County 4-H, they're a pretty good bet to follow back. I think that's going to be okay. Volunteer Coordinator in Development Vista, I think for Sasha Bruce, they deserve a follow back too. So you want to go ahead and look in your list every now and then and see who you're following and maybe see what they're talking about. So I took a chance that maybe, this is a great person to follow. Let's see what they're talking about. Well, get that. They mentioned us. Yes. They really were a good choice to follow. Some of the strategies that you may want to use is they will tell you who is similar to you. So you can go here and say, okay, AmeriCorps alums Columbus is similar to us. Let's go ahead and follow them, and then let's see who their followers are and who are following them and what they're tweeting about. Another one, Survio. Nice place to follow, right? So we would follow them. We'd go around and see, well, what are some of their tweets? What have they been talking about? And you may use the MLK Day of Service in Action. I'm going to retweet them just to let them know, hey, I saw you. That was something great. I'm not going to engage in a conversation with them, but some of the ways that you use a retweet is you see something that is supportive. You let them know that you're supportive of what they're doing. You retweet it. A little later on, you might want to come back and have a longer conversation with them. So this is how you start building community. You see your people, you see who's following you, you get suggestions off to the side, and then you say, all right, well, if this is someone who we're following, who's following us, who we think is a good bet, and they probably have a good Twitter audience, let's go a little bit deeper and look at some of the people, not necessarily that they're following, but followers, yes, who they're following. At list, there may be some other folks that you see that you have in common that you're following, and the people on this list that you may want to follow. And to build your audience. Now, for us, the very one I do when I come on Twitter is I go to the connect right here, this @ symbol, to see that something to us and who do we need to talk back to. And that's Jasmine, you guys. And these are some of the folks on the panel. And you just want to see who said what today. Okay, Lauren's in the tweet chat. I'm going to go ahead and retweet her just to let her know. Hey, thanks, Lauren. I saw it. I heard you. We're glad you're there. Smart beginnings. Great. Thanks. Glad you're there. The other thing I wanted to point out to you guys that I think will help is, and this beginners or for folks who maybe have not tried all of the little tricks and the trades, and that's favoriting lists. So to a tweet, when you favor something, it shows up in your timeline. And so these are a few things that we've favored over the last couple of weeks, but it's also sometimes a reminder that something's happening out there that you might want to get back to a little bit later on, so you can use it as a bookmark as well for good deeds, or that may be coming up a little while down the road, or maybe there's a link and you don't have time to read it right away, but you want to go back and read the link a little bit later or watch the video a little bit later. You favored it. The people who are following you see that you favored it, and they may want to favor it as well. And many strategies, we're just going over a few today. There are many, many, many. And this is the list. Now, these lists are used. We have lists of people who are organizations who support VISTA, visiting with service learning projects. There are only 6 members there, so you see we have some work to do. If you are in a service learning VISTA project, please tweet us at @VistaBuzz and let us know to add you to the list so we can build that list out. We have 49 members who we are sure are VISTA alumni who tweet. We want to make sure that that list grows as well. So if you're on the call or if you're in the tweet chat and you are an alumni, please tweet us. We want to make sure that we add you to the list. And these are lists where we've been added. So Chicago Cares started a national service. It has 19 members. Then we have United. This particular one, it has 234 members. We're a part of that organization's list. The cool thing about that is you now are connected to people. Let's go to Susie's Nonprofits. There's 250 members. You're now connected to people. Otherwise, had it not been for Susie creating this list, we would not know many of these organizations or Twitter accounts exist. I'm not sure if we're following Do Something Good, but we probably should. So here's to build community. Start a list, or you get added to a list, go down the list. If there's anybody on that list that would shares the same mission, idealist obviously is somebody that we would be following, and we are. So you want to make sure that you check these lists regularly and you respond back and you thank people when they add you to a list, because what that ends up doing is increases your reach. The more you're on, the more people know about you, the more people that you get to respond to. Now, this is how quickly Twitter happens. Just quickly as we asked someone to say, well, we're in service learning, right? So we're going to go ahead and add them to the list. We're going to go in there and make sure that we're following them. As we follow them, we're going to go over here. And we are going to go to insert, and it is VISTA's service, and that's it. Add it to the list, and they will get notice that they have been added. So another one. Start one more time. We're going to go. And again, this is why this profile and this imagery is very important, because we want to make sure that they are who they say they are. Now, 24 people following them, we're going to help them out a little bit. We're going to add them to this list. And now they'll be able to use this list, go in and click on it, to who else in the service learning who we know is associated with us. They know that the people on the list are associated with us, so they've sort of been vetted already by us, and they know that that's a safe bet to add them to their community. Okay. So,
hey, Dan, you touched on this a bit, but someone was asking explicitly kind of what the purpose of retweeting is.
Well, think of a retweet as saying, let me go back. Hold on, Troy, we're going to get to you in 1 minute. Let's go back here, and let's go to some of the people who we've been following. So, and I'm going to the connect. These little green arrows here have let you know that these are people that we've already retweeted. So, this particular person said to us, if you make a connection with people or organizations, I suggest following. This person, they are now following us, and they're listening to the Twitter webinar, and they just gave our hashtag. When this person, who I believe when we checked had less followers than we did, now retweet this to everyone. They're in a conversation with all our 6,000 people who have now seen that retweet, which opens them up, but also it gives us a little bit more publicity for our tweet chat that's happening simultaneously right now because they use the hashtag. Sometimes, this is one of our presenters who's doing a great job of Twitter. Thank you so much, Vicki. I'll go ahead and retweet this so that not only all of her followers have seen what she just said and the question that she just asked, but when I retweet it, all of our followers will see it as well and open up the conversation. Sometimes also, and I'm trying to find one as I'm talking, sometimes you do not have the time or the capacity to engage in conversation. But you saw something in your timeline. I hope I'm not going too fast because I know you all are trying to read as I'm going down, but I'm actually trying to find something. Okay, yougive.org, they tweet us quite a bit, and they have a current Vista who's a social media coordinator. They're going to be joining the tweet chat. I don't really have time to say to yougive.org right now, hey, thanks for that. That was fantastic because I'm talking to you all in a presentation. But when I retweet this to them, that's sort of a long-distance high five saying, thank you so much for doing that. I want everybody else to know that your folks are on the call with us as well. Or it may be that someone says, okay, they have their new AmeriCorps Healthy Futures Vista starts today. Welcome, Mel. When I have a little bit more time, I would respond back and say, hey, Mel, it's great. We're so glad you're on board. But since I don't have time, I'm just going to retweet it right now, which is my way of saying to them, I saw it. That was great. It gives me a little attention that maybe I need to come back and say something or do something later because it highlights to me that I retweeted something. And it gives me an opportunity to reach out to the person who reached to us and give a little bit of space for me to come back a little later on. Now, here's Wendy Spencer from yes. I'm always going to retweet whatever she says to us.
Hey, Danielle.
Yeah.
I think you're sharing your desktop right now.
I'm not sharing my. Oh my goodness. You got some good stuff.
Everyone's attentively listening, but
you got good stuff. I feel bad now. Okay, if I can get back to that screen. Here you go. Okay, so she retweeted us. She retweeted us. I retweeted her. I get a little arrow here letting me know that that's been retweeted. Much better. Thanks, James. I got it much better from James because he can see now. CNCS is tweeted us this particular tweet. Is a link to it. I cannot go there and read this right now, but I trust CNCS has sent to me some great stuff. Their people who are following them got to see this because they included us in the handle. We know that this is something of interest to the Vista community, so we're going to go ahead and retweet it. And now all of our 6,000-plus people get an opportunity to see it as well. It also gives me a little tickler right here that I retweeted something and then I may want to come back and do something or actually read this. But because it is CNCS and they are talking about AmeriCorps members and veterans, I'm also going to favorite this, which gives me another little tickler to come back and say, okay, I'm bookmarking this. I need to give this a lot of attention. Sometimes someone may tell us that they're looking for, they have a Vista position, so we would retweet that. We don't necessarily have to say anything to them, but we had to retweet it. Terry did a shout out earlier. I I Trust Terry. Hi, Terry.
Hey.
I Trust Terry. I'm going to go ahead and retweet that. And Terry is the best at retweeting, by the way. You're going to hear a little bit more from him a little later on, but he's really great at retweeting it. We retweeted this. Didn't have a whole lot of time to say a lot to them, but we did want to welcome these people into family, so we retweeted that tweet. Does that make sense, you guys? Yes, kind of? I'm going to say yes. So I'm scrolling up because you missed some of the things that I talked about. This is the retweet that Vicki, who's on the call with us, did from our tweet today, leading to our tweet chat. So that opened up this to not just the people who are following us, but to the people that are following Vicki, because we can't assume they're all following the same people. So all of these retweets are almost like I said something to you, and I did to all my friends. And when I said something to you, you in turn said it to all of your friends, and first. So that explains it a little bit more. And I'm sorry I wasn't sharing my desktop earlier because you missed some good tweets, but I'm going to go up here and see if we can show some now. Any questions, Michelle?
Funny question, but I think there's a good piece to speak to there, which someone asked. How many hours a day do you do this? It seems like it could be endless.
It absolutely could be endless, particularly when you take into account that they're on your mobile devices. And so one of a very particular web shop that we've done is on managing your social media time and coming up with a social media plan. If you do this, and this is part of your project, and you are the Social Media Vista Project Coordinator, then we highly suggest that you set up a plan where you're mapping out your day. Generally, for us, when we're doing this, we try to get in the morning and do a couple of hours in the morning, do a couple of hours in the evening. But I have to be honest with you, with mobile devices, you end up doing far more than that. And it also depends on whether or not you're launching a campaign. Obviously, during a particular campaign, you're going to tweet far more than if you did a whole lot going on that day. If we're promoting a particular event, we're promoting a particular campaign that we're running, then we're going to be tweeting a lot more. You could get sucked into the matrix and do this all day if you wanted to, but there's more to your assignment than tweeting, and this is just one faction of social media, though it is a very large one. It is just one. I recommend that you come up with a plan during your 5 days, and maybe it's 2 hours on Tuesday morning, 2 hours on Wednesday afternoon, and then 3 hours on Friday morning. But as you're beginning to build an audience, you're going to have to experiment with that, because working on a Monday for a certain group of people may not work on a Friday afternoon for another group of people. And so you're going to have to test out your times and see when you're getting the responses for your asks. That is, you're asking your community to do something, what kind of response and when do they respond, and then for the times when you just want to reach out to them and maybe you're doing quotes, test a few quotes and see what kind of response they get during the day. Test out for a little while, come up with a plan, stick to your plan. And the thing about it is, if you're going to have a hashtag Tuesday pound whatever, or if you're going to, if your audience starts to know that 9 and 5 you're available and they can pretty much reach you in 9 to 5, and that they're not going to get very angst if you don't respond right away because they know that your heavy traffic time is in the afternoon on Wednesday, then they'll get used to that and it'll be okay. They're not going to expect for you to be there for them 24 hours a day, though you could be. Okay, Love Thy Neighbor, you're working on a service learning project in Bridgewater, so you guys didn't get to how we did this before, so let's do now. First of all, Love Thy Neighbor, we really need you to add your image so that we know what's going on there. We're going to go here and see what the profile summary is. Okay. And we're going to load them. They say Service Learning Project in Bridgewater, so we're going to add them. Did everybody see? I am now, right? Yeah, good. Add them to the list. Vista Learning. And now they've been added. quickly, we've gotten a response back from someone else we've added.
So this is all great. I think we better go back to Troy because we're getting short on time.
We're getting short on time. Okay, great. Thank you. Let's go. So Troy. Hey there. We are getting short on time. So Troy, tell us a little bit about your assignment and where you're located and how you're using Twitter.
Yeah, I am serving as an AmeriCorps Vista in the Office of Community Service and Civic Engagement at Trinity University in Lexington, Kentucky. I wasn't really part of the plan for me to do media, but I came with my advisor, and she kind of decided to share some of the responsibility, and she has really kind of thrown a lot of that toward me. And so I'm doing with a lot of Martin Luther King Day of Service stuff, a lot of planning for that, and then also recruiting volunteers to tutor in local elementary schools. So I've used a lot and have plans to use Twitter quite a bit as we approach Martin Luther King Day.
What do you recommend Vistas starting out, or Vistas like yourself who are starting out in their assignment? What are some of the first things that they should do to mobilize the community and to cultivate new relationships on Twitter?
I think it does take a little bit of time, but just kind of search out what community partners are on Twitter and are actively using it, and just Twitter as the social media that it is, and just interacting with them and promoting their things for kind of looking at your own stuff and recognizing and who it is that you're trying to connect with.
Great. And have you discovered any tools similar to Hootsuite that are working well for you?
I have not. For me, just spend time to kind of search and see who would be following, just spending that time kind of doing research, basically. I've had success, but I haven't been able to investigate any of the tools just yet.
I probably could have answered the last question, which was, how much time are you spending on Twitter?
Not tons, maybe an hour a day. Depending on what's going on. Usually not that much time on Twitter, because I mentioned we're still upping our followership and who our audience is.
Okay, we're going to come back to you in a little bit. I had no idea what the time was. So, Liz, I'm going to turn it over to you now to facilitate this particular portion of the workshop.
Okay, well, I think we've answered some great questions in the chat, but we also want to make sure we're getting at the reasons why you decided to join this call. So if anybody wants to share on the line how you are using Twitter now, anything that you've discovered as a best practice that you'd really like to share that has not been mentioned yet, I will open it up to the folks on the phone.
In order to do that, Vanessa, can you give instructions for how people can ask questions on the line?
Yes, ma'am. At this time, if you would like to ask a question or make a comment, please press *1 on your telephone keypad. We'll pause for just a moment to compile the Q&A roster.
Doing that, I did see something in the chat earlier. Kay said, be professional, but be real. I thought that was a great comment because we do want to be professional, but not so much so that you lose your personality. So even though we talk about the hatch hack and being very responsible online and very professional, you don't want to lose your personality. So I thought that was a great comment, and I just wanted to share that. So thanks, Kaylee, for that. Anybody on the line?
Your question comes from the line of Yasmi Oni.
Great. Ed.
I'm sorry. I just needed somebody to help me with my PowerPoint. I wasn't able to see it, but I'm okay now.
Okay. Technical question. Okay, no problem. If there's a next question, Vanessa, go ahead.
Please for your next question.
While doing that, hey, Robin, anybody in the chat have any questions that we want to share?
We've just been talking a little bit about finding specific hashtags and getting suggestions on ways we can reach out to communities like the education community and community gardening. So we've gotten some great suggestions from Vistas here, and would love to see what Vistas in the suggest as well.
Great.
Your question comes from the line of George Burton.
Hi, guys.
Great. Go ahead.
Great. I have a question. I just wanted to get an introduction on how to utilize Hootsuite. And another thing is I would like to sync a Twitter post to our Facebook page. And I have both a personal volunteer Vista page and then also a public organization page. And I can't sync any of the posts to our public organization pages because it's not a personal profile.
Well, explain to me first of all, we'll go ahead and put a link in there for Hootsuite that's available for you, and there's a tutorial that can walk you through how to use Hootsuite, and it will be able to sync to Facebook if you're the admin to the Facebook page. So are you the administrator on the organization page?
Yes.
Okay, so you have rights to both the Twitter and the admin page, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so you can sync those two, but my question is, why would you sync your personal?
I want to sync the personal one. I just found trouble every time I tried. I was able to sync it to the personal one, but when I tried the public organization page, it gave me errors. That's the reason.
Syncing it to your organization Twitter page and with Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay. Do me a favor. Can you add the Hootsuite link is in the chat, but if you would not mind putting your email into the chat feature, I will walk you through it. I think it's going to take a little bit more time than we can do on this particular call. I will definitely spend some time with you after this to make sure we can make that happen.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
Del, I'm going to make a suggestion just because we're basically out of time here. I'd love to go ahead and just get some of the input from the state directors. Absolutely. And then folks are welcome to continue afterwards, as was planned originally, with questions that you can ask or answer specifically. Does that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay, super. So if folks can just hang on for another 5 minutes, we've got these great state directors on the line, and we'll go ahead and ask them a couple of questions. Terry, I'm going to start with you. Why is your Twitter profile and avatar important when you were setting up your account?
Well, specifically, I obviously chose the picture because people respond to pictures of individuals, and they get engaged with that. And I stated in my profile, where I am, what my geographic interests are, what specific interests are programmatically, and because most of my tweets are going to be about our programs are about things of interest to philanthropy and service in states that I'm interested in, which are Alabama, Georgia, and Arizona specifically. But because it is not an official account, I'm not representing myself as speaking officially on behalf of the corporation. I wanted to very deliberately ensure that people understood that what I'm saying are my personal opinions. And I developed it with the phrase I think that Haley mentioned, be personal but be real. I love that because that's the thing that I've always kept in mind, both with my profile and with my tweets. Trying to do things that engage people and that represent my personality, but which are very professional and which represent our programs in Arizona very well.
Thanks, Terry, for sharing that. Vicki, why do you think Twitter is an effective social media tool for Vista and for what you're doing?
I think it allows us to get information out to a larger audience than we normally would. Typically, our audience would be our current grantees or maybe our current grantees and commissioners, and Twitter allows us to really expand that and speak to folks who might not be in communication with us typically. One of the cautionary tales that I'd like to share, though, is that we have Vista members, and we're thrilled. We have Vista members in Iowa that are using Twitter as part of their assignment, but I would also caution folks that if you're feeling frustrated with something, with the meeting, with a partner, with any of that, don't tweet about social media is not the place for that. So if you can't tweet anything nice, don't tweet anything at all.
That's great. Thank you for saying that, Vicki. That is very true. There's other ways to handle that. Kirsten, give us some examples of what you tweet about.
Yeah, absolutely. I usually tweet about anything, interesting articles that have to do with Alaska or Washington. Saw a few come through today. If I see any grant or training opportunities that might be interesting for the, greater nonprofit world, job announcements that I see, any national service articles that come through about Alaska or Washington. I'm also a returned Peace Corps volunteer, so I shoot out things about Peace Corps openings, and I'm also on the board of an early childhood organization and nonprofit, so I send out things that have to do with early childhood education as well. And also going back to getting real, I'm currently fired up about a dolphin and small marine mammal slaughter that happens in Japan this time of year through the Sea Shepherd Foundation. So you'll see tweets about that kind of stuff that's totally off topic to the nonprofit and national service world, but only typically do that after hours or on the weekends. And sometimes I'll also live tweet at events, whether it's an AmeriCorps launch or a conference or something like this that I'm attending as well.
Great. Thank you for those examples, Kirsten. Terry, back to you. What do you think gives you the most retweets? Have you noticed a trend on that?
I think the statement about things with pictures really grabs folks. Links, particularly newspaper articles that are of local interest. I have a Google News alert set up so that I get updates about articles which mention vistas in Arizona. So I tweet those links out, and they almost always get at least one or two retweets. And the thing to do is to develop your relationships with colleagues who you have similar interest, and support them with retweeting, and they will end up supporting you with retweeting, and it really does amplify your impact and your engagement.
So finally, to our state directors, is there anything else that you all would like to add, whether it's advice, other words of wisdom, or cautionary tales that you'd like to share with our VISTA members on the webinar?
This is Kirsten. I would just add to make sure that if you're going to be setting up a Twitter account for your organization, make sure that your supervisors know what's going on, and make sure that they're on board with it and know what you're doing. And as a VISTA member, you're also open to create things they go along in terms of guidelines, so because you want this to be sustainable after you leave. And also just watch out for Twitter spammers. Make sure to go through your followers from time to time and block people that you don't want associated with you, and never click on a link that is sent to you via direct message unless it's someone you really know. There have been some Twitter kind of spam things going around, so be careful about that. And also to follow everyone that follows you. There may be some folks that you really don't see a connection to what your interests are that are following you, that may just be fishing for more followers and possibly not following anyone at all. So keep that in mind as you create your profile.
That was a very, very good point.
This area, I would say that we all know national service sometimes is difficult to explain. Capacity building is incredibly difficult to explain, and sometimes when we are doing it, we get caught into the rambling on and on and on, explaining too much. And I have found for me, Twitter, because of the 140-character limit, is a great exercise in self-discipline and learning how to communicate impact very quickly and very succinctly. And I believe that it's very good and worthwhile to have as many of our national service participants as possible learning how to be able to tell our story very quickly and succinctly in a way that our committees can understand.
I think that there are VISTA members especially those who are serving perhaps with smaller agencies, Vista members may actually take more of a lead in the agency being on Vista, or I'm sorry, on Twitter. Perhaps the staff feels that there are not enough individuals, maybe they're not familiar with it. So I think that that's a really exciting opportunity and a way for Vista to engage and expand the roles of those agencies in a way that may not happen or may not happen for a couple of years without the Vista activity.
Mute. Darn it. Terry's actually in the office today, sitting right next to me, and I didn't want any feedback.
Oh, and I was hearing Liz just fine.
Keep the conversation going, you guys. We're over time right now, but we are going to keep it going both on the Vista Campus and using the hashtag. So if you've never used it before, your opportunity.
Yeah, great. Okay, to wrap it up here, things to keep in mind. I've already mentioned the Hatch Act. If you need a reminder, go on the Vista campus, and it very clearly spells out what you can and cannot do as a Vista. Be tasteful and appropriate. Please just run it through the test. Can what you're putting on Twitter, Facebook, any social media that you're using as for a professional presence and really for personal too, can it be on the front page of the New York Times? If the answer is yes, then go for it. If not, then best to change your message. It's really just very important to be tasteful and appropriate. And also stay safe online. And you can see all these reasons here, keeping your passwords in a secure place, block or ignore unwanted users. This presentation is going to be posted on campus, so you can read through there. But just the bottom line is please be smart, and if you have any questions, please contact your state office, and they can then help you out.
Thanks, Liz. These are some links for you that will be available as well. These are social media useful links that we've used today. These are our. The next slide is our links in media for your purpose, and then we just want to promote the upcoming webinar, Liz, very briefly.
Great. So using the Ed Award, anything that you wanted to know and you don't quite understand yet, please join us on Wednesday, December the 19th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and you'll learn all kinds of angles to using your Ed Award and strategies.
And finally, thank you all for joining us. I thank all of our guests. This was great. I'm hoping you learned a lot. Our next Social Media Monday is on Flickr. Share your service story through photos. Our registration link will be provided for you. Also, we are going to keep the conversation going on the forums in the campus, also in the tweet chat. And this presentation will be available to you in a couple of weeks on the Social Media Monday Vista Campus course page. So stay tuned for that. And you'll be able to download the PowerPoint of this particular presentation, and there'll be the video recording as well.
Hi, everyone. This is Suzanne. I wanted to thank you for being a part of today's presentation. We were having some technical difficulties and were unable to open the poll. We apologize for that. We will be sending you a SurveyMonkey link to complete an evaluation. We certainly hope everyone will give us their feedback. We very, very much value it. We'll be sending an email, but I've also pasted the link in the chat. So please let us know what you think. We're always looking for room for improvement, and we'll look for you next time.
Everyone.
This concludes today's conference call. You now disconnect.